Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Aliyah Nabila. Will present my project about the technologies for learning. So, before we are going to talk about the technologies for learning, we should to know what is exactly the technologies for learning. So, technologies for learning, a term which is an effort sharing certain characteristics necessary to be considered a systematic application for scientific knowledge. The systematic application is a technique must have a carefully designed framework that provides a total system of teaching learning. Then, the framework or template must be sufficiently structured so that other teachers can reliably repeat the teaching learning pattern. So, for the first one, we are going to discuss about the cooperative learning. Technologies for learning must fit and provide a specific template expressed in the form of the operating rules, procedures, and materials. There are 4 advantages. The first one is active learning. This thing requires students to actively interact with others. The second one is social skill. Students learn to interact with others, developing their interpersonal communication, leadership, compromise, and collaboration skill. The third one is interdependence. Positive interdependence and accountability are developed as students interact to reach a common goal. And the last one is individual accountability. When a group success depends on the output of each individual in it, individuals learn to be accountable for their actions. The next one is the limitations. Students' compatibility. It is sometimes difficult to form group of students who will work together well. The teacher must know her students well to form group that will function effectively. Student dependency. If you allow the best students to carry the others, you may create dependency and defeat the purpose of the cooperative learning. The challenge is to devise the management system that require learners to truly collaborate. The next is time consuming. Cooperative learning requires more time to cover the same amount of the content than do the same other methods. The next is individualist. Individuals who prefer to work independently don't like cooperative learning. And the last one is logistical obstacle. The teacher must arrange a lot of information, students' responsibilities, and assessment activities. Computer-based cooperative learning. Computer assistant can alleviate some the logical obstacle to using cooperative learning methods, particularly the task of managing informations and then allocating the different individual responsibilities, presenting and monitoring instructional materials, analyzing learning response, and administering tests and scoring, and provide the remediation for those tests. The next one is game. Is an activity which participants follow prescribed rules that differ from those of real life as they strive to attain a challenging goal. The advantages is attractive. Games provide attractive frameworks for learning activities. They are attractive because they are fun. Children and adults like to attend to react positively to an invitation to play. The next one is novel. As the departure from normal classroom routine, games arouse interest because of their novelty. And then the atmosphere. The pleasant, relaxed atmosphere fostered by games can be especially helpful for those who avoid other types of structured learning activities. The next is time on task. Games can keep learners interested in repetition tasks, such as memorizing multiplication tables. But there are limitations of game. Competition. Competitive activities can be counterproductive for students who are less interested in competing or who are the weak in the content or skill being practiced. The next is distraction. Without carefully management and briefing, students can get caught up in the excitement of play and fail to focus on the real objectives. And the last is poor design. To be instructionally, the meaningful of the game activity must provide actual practice and of the intended academic skill. Fatal shortcoming of poorly designed games is that players spend a large portion of their games waiting for their turn, throwing dice, moving markers around the board, and performing similar trivial actions. Simulations and problem-based learning. The great advantages of this sort of first-hand immersion in this topic that students are more likely to be able to apply to real life what they have practiced in simulated circumstances. This raised the issue of the degree of realism captured by the simulations. A common defect in poorly designed simulation is an overemphasis on chance factor in determining outcomes. Much of the reality is spoiled if chance element cards cause player to gain or lose great quantities of points or other resources regardless of their strategic decisions. An overemphasis on chance or overly simplified representations of real relationship might end up teaching lessons quietly contrary to those intended. Program instructions. Program teaching is a systematic procedure for a teacher to work simultaneously with a group of students or whole class. Usually refers to learning done by an individual using printed materials or computer. Involves a human tutor working one-on-one with a learner. Program tutoring or structured tutoring. One-to-one method of the instructions in which the tutor's response are programmed in advance in the form of carefully structured printed instructions. In a typical program, the tutor and students go through the lesson material together. Advantages: self-pacing, practice and feedback, reliable, effective. The limitation: labor-intensive, because the program tutoring depends on the availability of volunteer tutors. The second one is development cost. Their development requires an investment of time and expertise. Program teaching or direct instructions. Program teaching lessons are designed to generate high rates of responding by all students. To avoid intention or mere imitation of other students' response, all are required to respond vocally at the same time. A hand signal by the instructor. When the teacher detects an error, he follows the procedures specific in the protocol to correct or remediate. And the last one, we are going to discuss about the personalized system of instruction or PSI. Template for managing instruction. The essential idea of PSI is that the learning materials are arranged in sequential order, and the student must demonstrate mastery of each unit before being allowed to move on to the next. Alright, thank you for your attention, for being listening and watching my presentation about the technologies for learning. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.